Okay, we are back for docket number 1133 1-1523. In the case of Davis E. Taylor-Made defending himself against the state for various irregularities in his income tax reporting. Now, due to time constraints last time, there were questions that we didn't get around to asking. So we saw fit to circle back and get those questions clarified this time around. There is one question of particular note that we would like answered. What was the appraised value of that mansion that you said in the first deposition? We said it was $30 million, but you said it was how much?
The residential mansion ministry.
Yeah, that one.
It was about 20 million.
Hold on. According to this transcript, you said it was valued around $27.5.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah.
Okay, what does the church need with such an expensive liability, to be frank, on your document sheet?
It's an asset liability.
What?
Yes, it's we're in actual works of purchasing the residential home from John Whitlock, who's did the appraised value on the ministry house, that is.
Sir, do you know the difference between an asset and a liability?
Well, we're in the inner works of getting ready to purchase it.
Sir, that was a yes or no question. Do you know the difference between an asset and a liability?
Yes, I do.
What is an asset?
Something more of a valuable purchase to myself and my board members.
In layman's terms, an asset is something that continuously generates money and puts it into the positive part of your bank account. And by that logic, what would be a liability?
My auto insurance.
Well, yes, that is a liability, but can you define what that means, like the way I just defined what an asset is?
If you think about it in the terms of my ministry, certain people who come to church.
Your ministry, just because it's applied to your ministry doesn't change the definition.
Yeah, so but certain people who come to church and who do not partake in putting in the collections, it's a liability to me. For those who don't.
To you or to the church?
Well, to the church, I'm sorry.
But no, you just said to you.
Well, I have deacons that oversee and actually go in, and when you're not paying your tithes and building fund, you're not an asset, you're more of a liability.
So did you just call your congregation deadbeats, in other words?
No, that's something you're saying. I never said anything.
But by definition, that's what you just called them, for not paying tithes.
No, I'm saying God loves a cheerful giver, so do I.
What? This... Okay, you still never answered the question. What is a liability?
I did. I just told you.
Okay, in layman's terms, a liability is something that takes out of your pocket. So the people who you said don't pay tithes, how are they a liability when... How are they a liability? How?
When you look at what it costs to keep the actual church up and running, if I have to pay from the salary that I reduced on my behalf, then it comes out of my pocket. So we ask people to be a cheerful giver. That's why when you watch a lot of my crusades and things that I do of those nature, that I ask people of the extraordinary to, if you happen to donate, what if it's coming from your life savings or your 401k, you just want to make sure you're doing it cheerfully.
Okay, just to backtrack a little bit, you just said you ask people to donate from their life savings and their 401ks, things which are instruments to help people survive, I don't know, life. So you're asking them to take for themselves and give to you. Is that what you're advocating?
No, it's not for me. It's for an actual better purpose, a general nuanced response, per se, to live in the kingdom in which is being prepared for you. You want to be able to have the best garments.
What?
Yes.
So, okay, how does giving to you or the church actually improve their lives? And how is it that you get to have your heaven on earth, but they have to wait for theirs in the afterlife?
No, per se, heaven is what you imagine it. So when you generally donate to the actual crusade and the congregation here at JMMI, you're actually preparing yourself to live in the many mansions. So
by that logic, should you have many mansions? Right. Actually, you do have several mansions. They're buried beneath layers and layers of shell companies, but you do have many mansions. Why aren't you sharing those?
I don't have any mansions. I have an apartment.
Yeah, the one that you alluded to last time. Where you said that you were living by yourself, but when we asked you about that, you said your son was living with you among a few other board members. How does that work?
Well, I don't have board members. What actually happened was...
But hold up, you said you keep saying you have a board whenever...
No, I have a board for the church. For my home, I allowed a family that came in from Cleveland to come in and live at my actual residence when my kids are not there.
But you said you live alone.
I do live alone.
But how are you living alone? You have an entire, a whole family living in the same living space. That's not living alone.
Well, I actually, sometimes I like to go to, the Palace Inn or the Hilton Gardens. They got great breakfast. I have to think about what I'm going to prepare for the actual congregation. How am I going to be an inspiration to the congregation?
Okay. Off of that tangent, the purpose of asking you about these mansions and the value thereof was because what are some of the minstrel things that take place inside this residential resort, whatever you call it? What minstrel things are you referring to?
Well, as I stated before, what we do is we train up and coming pastors for those who are looking to seek their actual endeavors of gaining their own church, people who are within doubt of their faith, and those choirs who are looking to expand, just like how Kirk Franklin and the family was.
Okay, are you familiar with a Pastor E.L. James?
No, never heard of her.
Well, according to, hold on, let me. Yeah, that is an invoice for a video shoot, and the title, we will read it out for the record. And remember, this is document 26-5-13-40. And the title in the box is called Drop It Low for Jesus. And And the lyrics are as I think it's better if we just play the video.
This song was taught to us by our very own pastor, Pastor James, when we was just this little.
Free Pastor James!
My man loves me. He provides for me. He protects me. So tonight, I'm gonna drop it low just for him. Drop it low for Jesus. Keep the Lord in mind. When you're dirty wine, drop it for Jesus. In the club, shake it to the floor and show it love. I'm on the grind, 'cause for my sins he died. 'Cause I know I'll be at the pearly gates for sure. I'll be in the number when the trumpet starts to blow. But tonight I gotta drop it low.
That's good ministry movies right there.
What?
The lyrics were in the club. Something about popping bottles. Could you explain to us what is dirty wine?
Dirty wine. That's African tribal neo-soul, something of that nature.
Looks like grinding on somebody's crotch.
That's way
Pardon the vulgar language, but it sounds like grinding on somebody's crotch.
that's way before I got it. I became saved and sanctified.
But it was shot in your mansion.
That was actually part of supposed to be an actual video that was supposed to have been promoting an up-and-coming pastor who was supposed to be doing things. But once I found the nature of what was going on, I actually called in for them to cancel it.
Yeah, but the whole song was recorded in the basement of that mansion as well. So is this what you were teaching? Is this what you're teaching your ministry?
No, that
Well, how can you say it wasn't? That's not what you're teaching when it was recorded in your place and had your stamp of approval on.
that was
And you just danced to it.
what I was stating is that I got bits and pieces of what was actually going on. Pastor James is a good friend of mine, and we actually came up in the ranks together.
What?
And what I thought he was going to use the ministry for was promoting a good music.
But you just said you didn't know him.
When you said it in that nature, I didn't know who you was talking to at that time.
So you've been acquainted with this man for quite a while, according to our but thank you. Yeah, this is a signed copy of their "Drop It Low for Jesus" single on CD in this day and age. Can you believe that? There's a signed copy signed to Mr. TaylorMade.
Well, what actually happened here was we do things to reach out to the youth that are not in the church when we go out to the communities to actually get rid of graffiti, and we're talking to the youth, so we have to be able to extend to those just like we do to our officers with donuts and donations.
What?
Okay, in the video, one of the girls is screaming, "Free Pastor James." What is he currently incarcerated for, if you don't mind telling for the record?
I have no idea. That's the first time I knew that he was actually incarcerated.
Next time we'll make sure to get records for the conversations. But on another note, moving forward, there's a few other things we need to address here. In the first part, you slipped up and called your organization a cult. Now, is that how you would accurately describe your gatherings, organizations, whatever you want to call them?
Just like you said, it was a slip of the tongue, and you say things that I was actually trying to say custard.
What?
Cluster. See, slip of the tongue again.
How does how does custard even fit into the context of this deposition at all?
I like.
We haven't even mentioned food.
I do like pudding.
Okay, moving on to another matter. Last time, according to your words, you said that Jesus came to you in a dream, but when you described this encounter, you also mentioned an invoice in regards to the repair of your 2025 prototype model Range Rover. And for the record, what year are we in right now?
2021.
So you have a 4-year, not even released model Range Rover. There are 2 questions we need to go into. All right, part 1, and we'll let you respond before we move to the next part. Was the man you described, or rather imagined, because you did say it was a mirage, was he of Hispanic descent? Because if so, you may have misled your followers, this court, and many other folks who follow you to believe in Jesus, the mechanic. How do you respond to that?
You don't know God.
What?
You don't know him like I know him. I have written multiple books where I talked about my countless encounters with God himself, with Jesus.
But Jesus himself never asked for any money.
He didn't. He just informed me of an invoice that I had.
That's
coming
asking for
due.
money, is it not?
No, that's not asking for money.
Yes, it's asking for payment of services rendered.
No, an invoice.
Okay, what is an invoice?
That's an invoice that you use. Like when you talk to yourself.
What?
You don't yell out what you're thinking when you're not sure of something, are you?
No. An
Okay.
invoice is a statement of services rendered and the cost attached to that service.
Well, that wasn't an invoice that I was talking about. I was talking about an invoice.
No, you said you said after. Okay. Ooh. Oh my God. But the question was he of Hispanic descent? You never answered that. You kind of dodged around the question again.
The way you put it is because I did tell Chanel right after I had the encounter, is the light illuminates.
What?
Yes, it does. And one thing I could say is that, we talked about countless things, preparing things of the nature. And,
Okay, what was one thing you talked about?
The last thing that we actually had when I had my encounter with Jesus, he told me that it was more of what they call it, a client privilege, where I'm not entitled to discuss things of that nature of what I was having with him.
What?
Okay, but from what it sounds like, it didn't exclude you from talking about what he looked like. So was he of Hispanic descent?
This complexity was more of almost like a brown skinned.
Was Spanish? Was it in Spanish, English, a mixture of? How did you communicate?
We spoke regular dialect.
What is regular?
Like I'm talking to you now.
So okay. Moving on. Part 2 of that question I asked. Could you state in layman's terms, once again, what year we're in?
I answered it for you already. I said we're in 2021.
Okay, just make it doubly sure.
Okay.
Now, it is a known fact that prototypes are often extremely expensive to procure and maintain. And thanks to the investigative efforts of our biscuit unit, we have obtained the amounts of those repairs as seen in Exhibit D. Exhibit D, line 4, item 5, box 1, which shows a total of $26,500 for an oil change. So also the question stands, how did you even acquire a prototype, much less a Range Rover prototype, 4 years in advance?
What they failed to include on here with that oil change, I got a 2022 calendar.
What?
I got air freshener, and I got a bobblehead.
And on that same invoice, if you look at item 12, the air freshener costs about $90.
No, it was included in.
No, it's a separate charge. $90 just for air freshener. Doesn't even include, cleaning, and just $90 just for air freshener. And that bobblehead was about $50.
But it should have been all included in on this.
So the question, how are you paying for this, and where's the money coming from?
Well, I do save money, and I wanted to be able to get my vehicle maintenance and well tuned, so when I'm able to drive the roads, I don't have any issues.
Did you just roads? What do you mean roads?
Roads, pavement, streets, freeways.
Oh, I thought you, because it sounded like you were talking about driving a Rolls Royce or something.
You trying to put something on me?
Well, that's coming, but but we still didn't answer the question of how you got that car like 4 years early.
Well, I have good friends. Elon Musk did come down to the church.
Okay, what is your relationship to Elon Musk? He's an atheist.
I don't have a relationship with Elon, but he did come down and he donated to one of my crusades that I actually did, and he told me that continue to listen to the service, that it actually made him think twice.
So you managed to convert a stone cold atheist into giving you large. Okay. What kind of clientele would you say that your ministry attracts?
We have different detractors,
Because it seems
our doors are open
from an outside glance, it seems that most of your clientele are able to afford like hundreds of thousands of acres of land, and these amounts being donated are not small amounts. One woman even gave you $1 million just for no reason. Like, how'd you even make that happen? Like what words could you say to just cause somebody to just give them $1 million? That's not chump change, right?
Well, you're right, but...
And where did that money even go?
It goes towards building the tabernacle that we're actually trying to set up for. We're looking to purchase a mall, an old mall that was that's no longer in service no more.
And where is this mall located?
It's going to be in Missouri.
And what is going to be the name of this location?
It's still a head JMMI, and that's what we'll do, our second home base headquarters, and we will allow Lower Line Ministries to also use the church as well.
So these filings, you're purchasing the old Lakewood Mall in Missouri, and you're going to turn it into the new Lakewood Church headed by JMMI. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You're turning it into Lakewood Church.
No, we're not turning it to Lakewood.
What?
My wife wouldn't get belligerent on a plane. No.
What?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. I need to address something you said at your own mouth, even though you may not recollect it. Do you consider yourself a no, we'll rephrase this. Pardon me. In your ministry, you claim to be a apostle and even a prophet. So is it correct to assume that you have the gift of foresight?
I'm just like the Pope, how they put us in the Bible, that an apostle is more of a forebrain.
Okay, so that doesn't answer the question. Like, do you have the gift of foresight?
Yes.
Okay. So with that in mind, can you explain to the court as to why the team you predicted to win, I don't want to use that, it's very disrespectful. The team you prophesized to win lost in humiliating fashion is that?
Well, as I stated, that was sent over to me.
What?
And that since then, that video has been taken down because what I said that in lieu of the actual video itself, that someone emailed me over the dream that they had. And I was just foretelling that.
But in the video, you said that you knew for a fact that your team was gonna win.
My team?
Yeah, you said that.
No, I think you just misunderstood it.
What?
Again, I was just interpreting someone else's dream.
You said the score was gonna be extremely close. It was a blowout. It was embarrassing.
It was
The
close.
score was 7-21.
When the game first started, it was real close.
What?
They ran in the opening minutes of the game. The RB running back ran it all the way back for a touchdown. Is that close to what you saw in the vision?
It was someone else's dream.
But you said it was your dream. You said it came to you in a dream.
It came, yeah, the dream, it was someone else's dream. It was actually emailed over to me. And I might have been asleep when I got the email, but it was someone else.
So if you were asleep, how did you read the email?
Call it telekinesis.
What?
So you can open your laptop with the power of your mind. Is that what you're saying?
I have my email on my phone also.
But you said you read it while you were asleep. So how did you read this while you were asleep? And how did somebody take time to write down their entire dream and send it to you?
You ever watch TV but you kind of taking a nap? And you able to hear everything that's going on but you still sleep?
So, but then again, the email is text. It's not read to you. So
Well,
how did you read it?
I have voice to text.
What?
Sir, pardon me, but you have an answer for everything, don't you?
No.
Well, but you still can't explain to us why your team lost in humiliating fashion.
It wasn't my team, and again, that video has been taken down since then.
Okay, moving on. Moreover, our biscuit unit has turned up documents that you gained a sum of $2.65 million from betting against your team, which I'm sure was lack of faith on your part, which you once again have failed to disclose. How would you explain that?
Might want to ask Chanel. I know
What
one
does
guard.
Chanel have to do with your gambling?
I don't gamble.
But you bet.
This is more like rolling dice for Jesus.
What?
And I just look the other way.
That's your ticket.
This
Yeah.
is
Thanks to our biscuit unit, they turned that up in your handwriting.
But it also said I was at a dog show.
So one of you is lying.
I'm not sure, but what you might want to do is ask Chanel, because she can
But
actually
it's in
tell
your
you.
handwriting, so how will we ask her about something with your writing?
Because she's actually an overseer, and anything that's used church-wise and funds that are misappropriated, she's actually alerted and able to account for those funds.
What?
Sir, are you throwing Michelle under the bus?
No, I have a Range Rover.
Okay. We have a question regarding your board. What are the qualifications to become one of your board members? And, answer that first before we move on to the next question. What are the qualifications to become a board member?
You want to believe in God.
Fair enough.
You want to attend church.
Once again, fair enough.
You want to be a cheerful giver.
Huh?
A cheerful giver.
Giver of what, though?
Of love, abundance, and money. And you also want to have a great, sturdy background in some type of educational and great customer service.
So why do they have to give money if this is about church and, getting closer to God?
It's not you have to give. It's the concept is being cheerful when you give.
But you just said giving money is a requirement, so that kind of sounds like union dues.
So, everybody pays dues.
So everybody pays dues.
You can thank Jimmy Hoffa for that.
So all your members have to pay dues.
Well, not per se, but what you're really doing is when you're being a cheerful giver, you're showing that you have the willingness to go to extra level to ensure that the congregation will do the same thing because you're an actual subordinate of me.
Okay, let us ask this other question. Why does your board membership consist of several people who were convicted, not indicted, who were convicted, as in the charges on the record, convicted on charges of tax evasion and check fraud?
I wasn't aware of that. I did not hire each board member personally. One of the things, perks when I brought Chanel on was to be predicated on checking backgrounds and what type of history that they have.
You got the final approval, do you not?
I do, but again, I'm doing so much that I cannot account for everything that goes on.
So do you consider yourself a good shepherd?
Great shepherd.
So a great shepherd is aware of everything that goes on in this flock, does he not?
Per se.
So how does all this go on under your house, under your shepherdship, and you have no idea and you're always deferring responsibility to Chanel?
Well, when Chanel checks in with me, she checks in with me daily. And the
So
thing
how did
is,
this slip past you?
when you say things of slip, you want to define slip for me.
How did they get hired knowing that it would attract attention from us?
Okay. So when you look at it in this, is that
You couldn't hire anybody with a clean background who has no criminal history?
we don't judge people here in the church.
That's kind of a thing you probably should look into.
No, because if I'm gonna judge you, then what is God for?
What?
Yes. So
You're supposed to judge your fellow man and correct him. Does it not say that in the Bible?
it also say, "Judge ye not judge."
What is the context of that?
I'm sorry.
What is the context of that?
Was it italic, bold, underlined?
Okay, the context of that were hypocrites judging hypocrites. How can a hypocrite judge anybody? How can you commit a murder but tell somebody to not murder?
That's more like
It was more that the law was written for righteous people to do things in righteousness, not for hypocrites to pervert the law in the way they want it to sound. It was written one way, not to be interpreted one way.
when I have my board meetings, I tell them all the time, do as I say, not as I do.
We're gonna take a short recess.
church. And we gonna put this out there that we ain't no atheists here. See, we came up in the church, but we just grown enough now to not fear them ass whoopers that come with asking too many questions. You know what I'm saying? So we just gonna say it like this. Always hated church since I always got dragged along. Shit never made no sense. The fuck the pastor on speaking about this Bible that made it so convoluted. Nobody get to heaven if these niggas is leading to it. Word to you Catholics, I'm about to spell blasphemy. Mary ain't a God, so who receives your prayer actually? All of you Christians, y'all ain't no better. Souls full of hate and shouldn't y'all know better? Celebrating these rituals born by pagan heathens. Only God can judge, so y'all praying to demons. Evil in the house of your so-called Lord. Your whole den full of vipers with their hammer whores. Niggas claiming they saved, behave just like the Walking Dead. Zombie ass niggas only talk about one head. Every week y'all collected, niggas paying for blessings. This nigga about to rob, praying he don't get arrested.
As I got older, I knew I had a choice. Take your ass to church or get beat with no voice. Listen to the preacher, about to cut the speaker. Draining out my pockets, now one's getting weaker. Grandma yelling, preacher, baby preacher. Reading hot talents, the crimes are so malice. 1.5, the church is a show palace. Wind lit funds of Mary Alice. Struggling family eat, that's the preacher proper preach. Trying to pull a pit, niggas are bullshit. Scriptures over prayers, niggas, that's bullshit. Talking about what's left and never the fourth prayer. Talking about who he seen in the prayer. Old open left, got down with left. Like Jesus will be concerned with your half-ass praise. Sending up prayers with your half-ass ways. Convict or co-vict or whoever you say. I don't give a damn, but it ends today. No collection plex should run around the church. Everything we free, we get hurt, yeah.
Alright, we're back from recess to continue this deposition, and we're just gonna get right into it. Okay, sir. Are you familiar with the history of the Crusades?
What's crusades?
All of them.
Yes.
Okay, in your own words, tell us what the Crusades were and what was their mission.
The musical crusades?
No, the crusade that took place around the 1100s, or what we would call the 12th century.
I was more of a Oregon Trail.
What?
Yes, Oregon Trail type guy.
What is Oregon Trail? Like, the court has no idea what that. What? What is the Oregon Trail?
With Osaka Jalil? Yeah, something of that nature.
Okay, for the record, we're gonna give you a brief history lesson on the Crusades. The Crusades were a giant, and we use that term literally, a giant cover-up for mass robbery, whilst using the Lord as the ultimate backstage pass, so to speak, and the actions taken by your ministry seem to have picked an accurate name for your ministrations, because a lot of your things do run parallel. What do you say to that, and what do you think Jesus would feel or say about the things you're doing in his name?
Jesus told me himself that I stay in the light like funny looking money. So me doing my crusade and going around spreading the word was something beneficial to not only to JMI, but as others who are perceiving and hearers of the word.
What? Okay, we asked you last time, did you know the Bible? And your answer was yes.
I do.
Where in the Bible does it say chase money?
I mean, quoting verses doesn't say that, but it just tells you about tithing and 10% of your actual earnings.
You do know that was referring to your harvest and not your actual money, right?
Well, this is my harvest.
So it's your harvest. I thought it was the churches. Which is it?
This is the church. Churches is plural.
What?
Yes, that's you're saying more than one. I'm talking about this church, JMI.
So it's your church, or is it the church? Like, okay.
Think of it as like Church of Latter-day Saints. Presbyterian.
Just for the record, are you aware that Jesus himself threw hands on the money changers and the scammers who were doing what you're doing?
I wasn't born around that time, so I wouldn't know.
But it's in the Bible that he, pardon the course of discretion, but he kicked ass in the church. Like he went in the temple and broke foot off in their asses for scamming people and charging high rates. Pardon my language, but yeah, he went in there and put hands.
Well, we're not doing anything of that.
But you're asking people for money in almost all of your events, whatever.
Televangelists, yes.
Yeah, but you're asking for money in all of these events. There's no biblical scripture that supports anything of what you're doing. And then all of this money is just seemingly vanishing in a thin air.
All of the pastors are doing it. Even the Pope himself when he's at the Vatican.
Perfect. So you just admitted to your culpability in this.
I'm not admitting to anything. I'm just saying.
But you just said everybody does it.
I'm just saying you guys are saying that here lies David's Eve that's doing this when it's you guys that are actually portraying it yourself.
Sir. We're not just saying any of these things. These are things that are actually proven. There are receipts, documents, court filings. Yes, you actually step foot in the court filings to do most of these actions. Okay. That Range Rover, that Rolls Royce that we mentioned earlier that you just kind of glossed over, that mansion that is actually 30 mil. I don't know where you get 27.5 from. That's in there. That 200,000 of King Snow Crab, which you said a decimal was misplaced, that's in there. The House of Chiefs, that's in there. That 2.65 million from the Super Bowl, that's in there. So what do you need all this money for? Well, like, what is it all going towards anyway?
I'm not sure.
How is this related to the kingdom of heaven?
Who prepared this actual ledger?
They're from your board.
What again? I told you there's gonna be a possibility that this is a mistake here.
What?
Because
so your own board makes mistakes on financial records.
Nobody's perfect, and the actual record that you guys could be asking for them to send over could have been a confused or cross-reference because this looked like total earnings from almost 1996.
What? But you said your dad does your taxes, so how would you know if it's right or not?
My dad did my 1040.
That's your taxes, is it not?
Yes.
So if he did your taxes, how would you know if it's correct or not?
I trust his word. I mean, who more not to trust than the guy that birthed you?
Sadly, I would have to give you that one. I will give you that. But that still doesn't explain all the discrepancies on your 1040 though. All those reportings, why were they not on the 1040?
The actual earnings.
They are part of income.
They are, but the actual earnings that
and you do know that
myself.
To report these incomes are felony.
Yeah, but we turned this into the IRS.
Without all that though.
This is not.
You didn't even do an adjustment on it.
This is not my negligent growth here.
What? Well, what would you call it?
This would be something more of a recreational net pay for funding that was given to the congregation, not under my name. When someone makes a donation, it doesn't always come to Davis E. TaylorMade. It comes to the actual church itself.
Okay, can you explain why a helicopter was gifted to you? To you, not the church, to you.
Well, Pastor Copeland had no use at his helipad, so he said he's like what I was doing, and he decided to give the actual helicopter to the ministry, not to me, but to the ministry.
And where is this helicopter now?
This is actually located back in our headquarters in Michigan.
Several of those documents list you as a head CEO, and my apologies, HNIC. And according to the last video, you said it was hetero, young, Sorry, I don't want to do the word injustice, but what did you say it meant?
It was actual hetero neons Christ integral.
And what does that mean?
It was written in calligraphy, and that was my interpretation of what that actually meant.
But what does it mean?
Hetero?
The whole thing.
Hetero? That means opposite. Liking of opposite. Neons is more of a neurologically science of the mind. Christ is what we believe in. Jesus himself. Integral is an integral part of the congregation in which we use to build intricate parts to build our funding.
What?
You know, we did some research of our own, and simple Google search. We pulled up to Urban Dictionary, and the definition is, and I apologize once again to the court for this language, but HNIC stands for head nigga in charge. Now, does that sound like the language of a wholesome minister who is leading his flock to Christ, or is it the language of a con man leading people to hell? So as Pastor James said about the music.
I'm not sure. You might want to ask Chanel on that.
Oh, okay. So even though you're listed as HNIC, and we should be familiar with the acronym, you threw a lot of the blame on your subordinate, Chanel Whitaker. Now, are we to believe that she is in full control with you as the figurehead, or are we wasting our time and we should really be asking Chanel? And since you two are not married, it is not against the law for her to testify against you, just so you know.
I mean, that's fine. I don't see a problem for her coming up, telling what's going on the inner works for our ministry.
So you would be fine with her coming up here and asking questions about these, quite frankly, these gross omissions of income.
She will be able to better explain it more than I can myself, due to the fact that I'm not always in the office. I'm constantly on the go. Again, I'm in over 192 countries.
Okay. While we're on that, now I want you just, how many countries did you travel to?
About 192.
Okay. The court has it on record that he's traveled to 190 countries. And so during that time, you don't have time to look over your flights. You said you've been to 190 countries, so would I be correct in assuming China is on that list?
Yeah.
A flight from, let's say, LA to China is about 15 hours. So you mean to tell me in all that time, you don't have time to look over your various records?
I have
15 hours is plenty of time.
I have my iPad, and of course, we're losing time. So I'm going to take me a nap, then of course I'm going to wake up and watch some old reruns of Barney and Friends, because that's my motivation, and some Paw Patrol, because I really like where they're going with that show. And then I'm going to start preparing my notation, as I have to learn a second language, because those the China, I don't know if that's going to be an interpreter there, so I have to start trying to speak some of the actual language. It may be a little broken at times, but I do it the best way I can.
Alright, let it be known. In 15 hours of flight time, you'd rather watch reruns of Barney and Friends.
What?
Instead of looking over your documents that have your name, your signature plastered all over them. You're telling me that Barney and Friends is more important than your court documents. And mind you, you're 15 hours in a confined space, unable to move, except for the bathroom, and all your paperwork is stored on this Dropbox. So explain to us in this court how 15 hours of airtime, you do not have time to review your ministry's financial health.
Well, again, I'm preparing myself to deal with the language barrier. And also, you have the culture shock, because when you're going, they treat you like a megastar. So it's almost like a rock and roll type of fest. So I try to maintain and keep composure at ease and just keep my eye on the prize, because I know as a pastor what I'm trying to deliver throughout the crusade.
So you're more focused on how to get money from other countries in different languages.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what you just said without saying it.
That's not what I'm saying. That's your interpretation. Listen to me. I'm trying to tell you something.
Well, how else am I supposed to interpret?
I'm telling you, it's just when you go somewhere and you're not familiar with the area, you want to prepare.
You get an interpreter.
You want an interpreter. That too. So those were my main focus on. Are they gonna meet me in the airport? Am I gonna be at this hotel? What is my itinerary and how's that going? Why I have Chanel back in the States that's overseeing, because she's like my second pair of eyes.
Okay, here's a question. So if while you're on your crusades and something happens in your ministry, like let's just say we get our biscuits unit to perform a surprise raid in your offices, and all of that money that you're using to fund your current trip just vanishes, or it freezes. Don't you think it probably would have been a good time to, probably look back in retrospect, like I probably could have done something about this beforehand? Or you don't think that's a priority? Or?
Well, you know what? No one ever brings up the turkey drives that we do, and how we're a staple or a foundation for the less fortunate. We talk about money and televangelists, and I myself, Davis E, does a great deal for the community by reaching back and grabbing another pastor.
So you're really not going to answer that question?
What question?
Never mind. Okay, I never got around to asking this last time, but how much are your typical allowances, as we're going to call them that, how much are your allowances from the board? How much do they normally pay you?
Well, it's depending on...
Your straight answer,
where,
how much?
It depends on where I'm going at the time, because my allowances are encountered by my wardrobe, from shoes to belts, to ties and hats and things of that nature.
And speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up, because our biscuit unit turned up somebody who was affiliated with you. He said he sold you several things out of the trunk of his car, and most of those items were reported stolen. Are you aware of this?
Wasn't me.
But you said you got them out of the trunk of a car, so where did you think they came from?
It came from him.
They came out of the trunk of a car at steep discounts. So I'm gonna ask you again, where do you think somebody who's selling goods out of a trunk, where do you think they got them from?
Maybe Suits You, K&G.
Then wouldn't it just make more
a
sense?
fire sale. So I'm not.
A fire sale? What is a fire sale?
It's more of a blowout sale where they have things discounted at a low prices, or someone set fire to the establishment and they need to get rid of charred, smothered smoke clothes.
So you don't think he may have, probably, in some states they have a law to where you can steal up to $999.99 worth of merchandise before they get arrested. Did you know about this?
I never stole anything.
Okay, so okay. Not gonna answer that one either. Move on? No, okay, we'll just move on. But you never did answer how much you get from the court. It depends is not an answer.
No, it just varies.
Okay, give us an estimate from here.
Sometimes
here
that can open up in a budget for $2,500. Sometimes it could be
You're missing several zeros from that.
No, that's what the actual allowance is.
Our biscuit unit turned up. Line 12, item 33, box 5. An allowance for $250,000 every 2 weeks, almost like it's a paycheck or something. So 25, 500,000, 750,000. So you're making $1 million a month. So $12 million a year, and no, if my math is correct, I could be wrong, could be shortcuts here, I don't know. So where is all this money going, and why do you constantly need donations?
It's more not donations, it's more like a honorarium.
What? But if you're, as the record shows, a multi-millionaire, why are you still asking for donations? That's almost like Oprah, who's a billionaire, asking us to donate for building schools in Haiti or something.
Well, the thing is, again, is my financial dealings with my boards do not intermingle. Again, like I told you, I'm not a millionaire. You know, I'm just an apostle, a self-fulfilling prophet. And what the board does is to keep me right for my TV appearances, because again, a lot of my suits, I do sweat through them. Okay, last time you said that these allowances are for travel expenses, and you also mentioned that this time. So, with adult entertainment, more specifically the landing strip being one of those entertainment spots, would that be one of those necessary expenditures? Like I told you, I fellowship in the most sacredest or dirtiest places to make sure Jesus' word is passed on.
I mean, a woman screaming, "Oh God," is not, spreading the word. She's spreading something else. Part of the court.
I believe she got the ticket and she understood the mission.
Perfect.
And what was the mission?
To the word of God. He comes before you.
Okay, why is a XXX spot the first place you would think of for directions?
It's not a place that I thought of. My tour bus guy, that was the first place he decided to stop. And I just happened to be, because I'm more of a known face than a bus driver per se.
So if you're a known place, people should be coming up to you, willing to give you directions off the rip if you just ask them, why do you need to stop at a strip joint to do this?
He had to use the bathroom as well.
What? There are public bathrooms everywhere in Europe.
I'm just giving you...
And I'm not condoning this, but people also, relieve themselves in public places. I'm not condoning it, I'm just saying.
Well, cleanliness is the next to godliness, and I wouldn't want him to do that. So if he stopped at a store to go to relieve himself, that's okay with me.
But if you're sweating through your suits, you're not really clean though, are you?
That's why they open up a budget, because I don't wear the same underwear twice.
Wow. Let it be known for the record that this man does not wear the same underwear twice. Okay, moving on. We got that for the record. Thank you. And also, could you explain to us how is it that you managed to come into the possession of an iPhone 20 prototype with 8G? So it's like the iPhone 12, is that not up to date or something? Is the GPS not good enough? Like, why would you pay for directions when you had literally this navigator in your pocket?
That's worldly possessions, you know.
What?
You know, some people.
The technology is like far further than what I got, and I have an iPhone 11.
I mean, that's your choice. That is your choice.
But you have 8G. 5G is like not even finished yet. You have 8G.
Again, those are like worldly possessions.
Like you got the same type of technology that the aircraft use to navigate across continents.
And I told you I go to 192 countries, so we want to make sure our navigational craft people are not getting lost in the air.
But you're still stopping you're still stopping in adult entertainment joints for directions. That just doesn't square.
I mean, again, it's just you looking at what you see as triple X. You know, that could have been, you know, something X-ray, not X-rated, but you know, something that people go in and they just look at. You know, everything is not per se negative.
What?
Because we're blessing it with our presence and the Word of God.
Okay, what is the training curriculum for your new staff members?
What we do is for you talking for the board member, correct?
Just anybody in your staff. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, from the deacons to the new pastors to water boys. Like, what is the curriculum for them?
Well, mostly that is ran and outlined by our youth ministry, because the children are our future. And
so why do you have them paying dues at such a young age?
we don't have children paying dues. That's harsh. We actually parents.
What?
Well, the clientele really is really of a special kind, I would say that. And when it comes to the training, do you teach them personally?
Teach who?
Who were we just talking about?
You was talking about kids.
Do you teach them personally?
I mean, they could look at me as a role model or something like Aristotle in his prime.
That was a yes or no question. Do you teach them in person?
When I get a chance to see him, yeah, I give him a nice pat on the back, because I do hear of the good nature of things that they are doing.
Okay, could you answer this question before I forget? What does purchasing anything from an adult entertainment shop, how does any of that benefit the church at all?
They got pictures in there.
What?
We're very aware. Okay, most strip joints don't allow pictures, so how are you securing this privilege?
The Picasso's?
What?
No, not Picasso. How are you? Wow. Oh my God. How are you managed to take pictures in a strip joint when most of the time, the bouncers, typically confiscate it, break it, and, do things to you to, just discourage that? How did you get around this?
Just like Jehovah Witness, when they have their pamphlets, they're able to go through with their audience. I can do mine as well.
Okay. What is your relationship to George Scott David?
I'm not sure who that is.
He is one of your pastors. And in one of his sermons, he commands people to empty out their bank accounts and give it to him. all of it. Even their life savings, he said to trust him, not, or no, and I don't want to misquote him. He said to empty their accounts and trust God will handle things. Is that something that you condone?
No.
But you taught him personally.
He may have came through the ministry. It's just of the nature of like when you learn something, you learn how to say your ABCs forward.
But you were standing right there when he said it and you cheered. You gave him you look like a proud father.
I don't recall.
Okay. You said you know the Bible fairly well. We've been over this, but for the record, could you say it again? You know the Bible fairly well, right?
Yes, do you know the Bible?
Okay, where in the Bible does the Lord command people to empty their bank accounts to buy things in order to get blessings?
It wouldn't say it in that particular donations or things of that nature because they talked a little different between modern times now. But
the context would still be the same. Where in the Bible does it tell people to give up their life savings and give it to the pastor?
The same when people brought chickens to the dinner.
What?
Yeah, it's one of those books of the Bible that's missing.
Okay. Does God live in your ministry?
God is with my ministry.
So you're saying God is fine with all the things you're doing?
Because everything I do is Christ-like.
What? So did God tell you that your team was going to get obliterated by the Super Bowl?
Again, that video has been taken down, and I told you that wasn't a video, it was a dream that came from someone else that was emailed over to me.
So, but God is never wrong. So how was that prediction, that prophecy so wrong?
God is never wrong.
But that video was wrong. I mean, like I said, it was a blowout. It was embarrassing. I've never seen a loss that bad, except the Bills. But that's another story.
And again, that's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. I have moved on beyond that, and my congregation knows how I do, especially with my healing methods and techniques and able to cure people from cancers, things that are greater than an actual football game. So if you're going to base your whole entire deposition off a football game, then there's something wrong with you.
But that's off of words you said.
Yes.
You.
Again, that was sent over to me.
Okay. Our records currently show that you're having a miracle arena built. About how much is that going to cost, would you say?
What we did is that we purchased a mall here in St. Louis, and we're gonna just I haven't got with building crews yet as far as some of the upgrades that we're gonna make to the malls and the inserts on the columns. We do have a video, which is just a overview of what we want it to look like, but as far as what it's gonna cost, we're still trying to collect donations to make sure that we do have the adequate money, so when the construction crew comes back with the price, we're prepared.
Okay, in one video, you said it was gonna cost $50,000, then you asked for $750,000, then you jumped up to $3 million. So how does the estimates vary so greatly? Like, well, why is there such a discrepancy in the price?
Well, the cost of wood is
not that expensive.
It's going up. It's not that gypsy board that they're using. They want some good wood.
Okay, what kind?
I heard of ply, grade A lumber.
Plywood is not great lumber.
Again, you get with Chanel, she'll be able to supply you everything that the actual building is gonna come with.
Okay, what is the capacity for this arena?
It's actually going to be able to sit. This actual mall is going to be able to sit 25,000 comfortably.
Okay. Do you celebrate Christmas?
I wouldn't say more of a pagan holiday, but around that time I found myself doing more charitable things, you know.
Why around that time? Why not any other time of the year?
It's most of the time, because if I'm not lending my time to my actual ministry, I want to give back to those who are a little less fortunate.
Why only around this time? Why is it any other time of the year? It's like, they'd be alright.
Well, seeing people caroling and singing the lights, it kind of just puts you in that mood. So you want to do something nice. You know, it's like I never saw anybody mad after eating ice cream. So who's going to be mad after somebody singing "Joy to the World"?
What?
So would it be correct in saying that you take the high road and refuse all gifts given to you, and you do not like to receive gifts in order to ease the financial burden on your flock following?
No, I like gifts. I actually like gifts.
But you said you don't really celebrate it. And
I
it's a
don't
pagan
celebrate.
holiday.
I don't celebrate it, but I like gifts. You know, they say it's better to give than to receive. So what we do is I make sure that the gifts keeps on giving. I love gifts.
Wow. Y'all still got that? Y'all got that? Okay, so it's a pagan holiday. Why are you celebrating a pagan holiday? Getting gifts is still a form of celebration. You do know that, right?
No, it's another form of showing love and gratitude, a token of appreciation for the hard work that we do throughout the years.
Are you still in possession of your private jets that were gifted to you on Christmas a few years ago?
And I said I would like a private jet. I never got one. But Pastor Copeland gave us a helicopter.
Yeah, you also failed to mention the yacht that you received too.
It wasn't a yacht. I was yelling Yahtzee.
What?
No, it was a yacht.
I haven't seen that.
It was a yacht with a full bar in it.
I haven't been on it.
It was stocked with Patron.
I went to a boat show in Disney World, but I haven't been on a yacht.
And Johnny Walker Black Label. Do you know how expensive that is?
I have no idea.
Pardon, I need to go. I need to go get some water. Okay. Just two more questions. Yeah. Permission? Okay, thank you. All right, more questions before we end this. Okay, so just refer back to something you said. You said that Pastor Kenneth Copeland donated to you a helicopter.
Yes.
Okay, why do you need a private helicopter? And matter of fact, I'm gonna tangent off a bit. How much does it even cost to maintain one of those?
I'm not sure on the maintenance because as Pastor Copeland, when he donated, it had to move. And what we had is that one of the deacons that was going to be the pilot, he actually went and got himself detained. So now we're looking for pilots that are willing to work with JMI pro bono, so we
Work
can
for free, in other words.
work pro bono.
What?
For free.
You can call it for free, but we say pro bono.
Okay, when a lawyer says they'll take your case pro bono, it means they're waiving the charge. So for free.
Yeah, but there's certain times when you word somebody and say, hey, you want to work for me for free? No, we say pro bono, and that allows them to receive benefits from the ministry as well.
So just for the record and for everybody's clarification, you're asking somebody to take the extremely dangerous job of flying a helicopter over vast distances with no expectation of pay. Is that what you're telling the court?
No. What I'm saying is, you work with the ministry pro bono, and you allowed yourself a great deal of wealth in heaven's kingdom.
What?
The question was, you're expecting somebody to fly a helicopter for free. That was the question. I didn't ask anything else out of that.
I don't expect anything, but if
Anything before a but does not matter.
you might want to ask Chanel.
Perfect.
Okay, last question. How often do your construction projects go over budget?
Well, we didn't have two within the past year.
And they both went over budget.
Well,
And the reason we know this is because during several of your videos and several of these cost overruns in various management, why is the upcharge for the light fixtures like 150% over market rate?
well,
Just the lumber is like 50% over.
we're using chandeliers, grade A chandeliers. What that does, that allows the church to be illuminated. Because sometimes when I'm preaching a good word, people tend to catch the Holy Ghost, and they run across pews that we have used reinforced wood, so to make sure that those don't collapse also.
Do you use the same firm in all of your construction projects?
This is a different firm. This is more of a
Because you called them several times for various repairs, and it's got me wondering if they've had to fix the same problem multiple times. It kind of implies that their performance is subpar. So why do you continue to use companies that have shoddy products, and how is this constant expenditure of poor quality products a benefit to your ministry? If you're using them for the construction of your giant stage, whatever you want to call it, what if that whole thing just manages to collapse on everybody, like in the story of Samson? Like, what are you gonna tell their families? Like, how would you even cover that? And you're in the know of them being a shabby company.
well, they used to call me Davis E. Skywalker.
What?
So if the stage happened to collapse while I was on it, I just do my best levitation act and continue to preach the word of God.
You know, I think we've gathered all we need today. We thank the court for your time, and we'll go over the facts and review the case as needed. Thank you.